People are wrong about things in Melee, and they have that shit in their bedroom since they were born. Yes, you can almost attack. But yeah, I think CC is too weak, basically. Because holding down like this doesn't let you punish enough. And the thing is, true crouch canceling, I think, is a lot more okay than ASDI down in a lot of cases. Because ASDI down, you can always do during anything, right? Like, you just tilt, you hold ASDI down, you dash attack, you hold down. But CC, you actually have to hard commit to. And in this game, shield is very strong, right? As it is in Melee, but it's even stronger in this game. So sitting and holding down instead of holding shield is a pretty big commitment. So I think true CC should be significantly buffed, and ASDI down should. I mean, the thing I say is that, like, this at least feels very, very intentional, right? I feel like when I play the other characters, hitfall feels less intentional and like more jank. Like, I think this just looks jank. It's the spike. How much? Let's just get in. Let's just another thing that needs fixing, because you can do like no impact land by just holding L like this, like that. But yeah, I think this is really dumb. Like, I don't think every character needs the ability to do like instant back air out of shield and then hitfall it. I think my ideal way would be that most characters just cannot hitfall on moves that are too fast startup, and they can hitfall on multi hits but not regular hits. I think that would be the best. And then like you could design certain moves around being hitfalled, hitfell. So you don't like. I don't think every move needs to be able to be hitfallen. Hit, because I think having a rising back or something like this act like a late back air is really hard to balance. Like, you know, short up back air or fair out of shield or nair out of shield is incredibly powerful in Melee, right? Incredibly powerful. But I think in this game, I don't think you guys realize how big of an issue this is because you haven't played a game with shield. Like, do you see what I'm starting to show? Like, I think if they have another character, so these nairs you could actually like CC. But like, imagine this, right? Fuck. And then that one tippers. Hitfall is really hard on your hands because of the OS. It's not very hard without it. So I think it's... I mean, it's about as hard as L canceling is. No, it's a bit harder than L canceling. Because you have to move the stick, right? It's a bit harder than L canceling is in your hands. I'm saying, Magi. It's like... Nair out of shield is fucking broken in melee, too. But, like... Clean uninstall. Nah, allow it. He needs it. It is an unintentional feature. I just think it does not mix well at all with how strong shield is. Like, I think having shit like this is fine. But I don't think that just a startup should have it. It is kind of in the first game. You don't have shield in the first game. Like, Raster being able to, like, with this speed, run in shield, and then, like, I don't know which one you do. Nair, maybe? Well, so what I'm proposing is that you should make aerials not be able to be hit fallen as early in their startup. So like after frame 5 maybe, or like after frame 5 of a jump, or you should make it so that what's it called? You should make it so more aerials just have longer startup. Because, like, it's not an issue when you hit upper here and then you hit fall, right? Like, that's not an issue. The problem is that there's some aerials that start up so fast that being able to hit fall them instantly out of shield is, like, a big issue. Yeah, but Derpin... How much Rivals 2 have you played? The game is not out yet. The game is not out yet. The game is not... This is not what the game is. This is maybe what the game could be. This is pre-alpha. This is the time where you critique what the game currently is. This is not what Rivals 1 is at all either, right? This is not at all what Rivals 1 is. Because you do not have shield in Rivals 1. I don't want shield to be this broken. Because, like... I've been saying this. Because of buffer, shield is naturally better. Since, like, if someone does a jab in melee, right? I have to, like, read what timing it comes out and then act. Because the section's buffer, shield is naturally always going to be stronger, right? Because I will always grab the perfect frame after they land, right? So in melee, if someone shields and I do an aerial on it, I can do a technically unsafe aerial, but I can make it a 1 frame timing for the opponent to grab me. In this game, the grab will hit every single time, right? Same thing with the Nair out of shield, because you can buffer Nair like you can in Ultimate. And so I think the frame data on shield is a bit wrong. I think you should have more shield stun for this reason, right? But I also think that, you know, things such as hitfall Nair just become a massive problem because shield... Because, like... You can't really mix up people's shield with hit stun the same way you can do in Melee. Like, traditional Fox spacey pressure would be so much worse in this game because you can buffer out of shield. And then the aerials are just absurd. Like, this backer does not exist in Melee. Like, this is a bigger backer than Fox backer. And for him to then also have a good nair, which is bigger than Fox nair, stomp out of shield that, you know, fucking kill confirms. Marth fair or Sheik fair, but that hits the ground. Like, I don't think you guys realize just how strong aerials out of shield are in this game, right? But then, additionally, from shield, which you cannot do in Melee, you have parry. So let's say, you know, a late aerial like this is safe, right? If I jump like this, they know that either I'm early shielding, like I'm either doing something early and then they can punish. That one would be, you know, unsafe. But if I do this late fair to make myself safe on shield against even a buffer grab, they have the mix-up of just parrying. In Melee, how it kind of works is that once you're here and they're still in shield, so like you're in this spot, I can press nair here and know that they cannot contest this nair because it's a late nair. In this game, this mind game is kind of changed based on how strong parry out of shield will be, right? You cannot do late aerials without massive risk in this game. Whereas in Melee, the only risk, and this risk exists here too, is that if I'm doing a late aerial like this, right? Instead of, like, I'm not doing this aerial, right? I'm doing this aerial, nair at the very, very bottom. The risk is that you get hit before the aerial comes out, right? So your opponent has to play active defense, and like, if you think someone's gonna do this on you, you doing shield and you like interrupt them, or you move out of the way before it touches your shield. In this game, you can do both that, which is incredibly strong because weighted out of shield is much stronger in this game, but you can also parry. And then the punish on this late nair that otherwise is like incredibly hard to punish, outside of taking a big risk, is, you know, a full fucking F smash punish. And then you add the last piece, which is that I think perfect shield exists in this game. And then weighted out of shield is much better in this game than Melee. Like, you cannot... Like, this is not possible in Melee. So, like, all of these things, I just think in general, out of shield options need to be changed. Shield needs to be nerfed, and then I think they need to probably change hit falling on some aerials, maybe. Or at the very least, be very careful of who they give a rising nair. Maybe it's fine on Rano. It could actually be fine on Rano, because this is kind of supposed to be his playstyle. But what I'm saying is that I think it would be fine if you could hit fall nair here. This is fine. I do not think, you know, like rising backer like that is necessarily fine. So this is what I'm saying. It's like, I think if you don't let people hit fall frame 1 or like as early in a startup, then it would still be the exact same for up air, for a slower move like fair. If you hit fall someone on a platform like this, but it would remove a little bit of this out of shield, which I fear is going to be too strong. Hitfall lockout after releasing shield could be something too. Yeah. Oh, people will get hella tilted about this move. Five frame jump squat. 9 frame out of shield is not very slow. Like 9 frame options is very fast. For a like rising arrow with this range. Yeah, maybe some kind of lockout for shield would help. Like, even just grabs are absurd. Grabs are really far in this game. And the thing is, so if I'm holding shield here, right? See how far this fucking nair hits? Like, this is absurd, right? And you also have to realize that in the startup of this nair, I can also start holding down. So that I both hit fall and CC if I get hit low to the ground. But not only is it really far, what the Raster might start doing then, right, is, okay, I'm going to do a late aerial, right? And then I'm going to shield, right? Shield, like this. Now the problem is that when you shield and you then grab reaches even further because it reaches the entire bubble. Look at that range. So the mind game of shielding after an aerial is really bad in this game. You kind of have to do fair and then dash away. But like even just regular grab is really big. Like I know it's not hitting his hands, but that, you know, that's just basic gameplay design. Like, it's a really big grab, especially considering that many characters have like 3 combo throws. So I think the problem is that shield is really good, so grabs have to be good, right? But I think shield needs a tuning even then, probably. And at least wait a shot of shield. So like in this game, you can't really do this dash away that safely because they could wait a shot of shield into jab and have like almost no time at all where they can be punished. And again, I told the developers this too. You really have to make wave dashing out of shield way worse because since you cannot fuck up wave dashing ever, it will always be frame perfect, always have full length. And then, because of the buffer, you will always frame perfectly act out of it. So the wave dashing is almost, like, out of shield is probably, like, literally less than half of the vulnerability in melee. And wave dashing out of shield is very strong in that game, too. Like, trying to hit someone's wave shine out of shield, or, like, wave dash into shine out of shield is very hard. Since you can also CC when you wave dash, right? But in this game, it's just crazy. Exactly, like, I think it's fine that you can do wave dash out of shield into frame perfect attack consistently, but they need to balance around the fact that it's going to be perfect every single time. You know? How do they practically balance around the fact that it's going to be perfect every time? You balance it by making it on average slower and worse. Wave dashing out of shield should be slower than melee, done perfectly. Not better, I think. Can you not run through people in Rivals 1? Or is that ultimate? I was about to flame Rivals 1. Yeah, that's one of the worst ult things of all time. I will say, though, some moves have the ultimate problem. And you're going to cry, but this is something that I think they should look at a little bit. It's probably hard to code, but like some moves have this issue where if you shield, like you will just randomly cross up or not. You know how some moves like Fox Dash Attack and Ultimate has this, where like it can be really hard to tell. Where the fuck is this ball touching? And so that one would have stayed in front. See how it's like you can't tell which side it's gonna end up on? Like that one should cross up, and then these ones don't. I don't know how you fix that. You probably give it a stronger push box. And this is not just the case for that, but like running. I remember doing this for like. Exactly, Void. I think during shield it should be stronger. So like that happened a bunch of times. See? Where like I would F tilt and just go through them. And it's like I think compared to melee, it's easier to cross people up in games past it. I think that's why it works the best in melee, probably. Where like for whatever reason, it's like it might be the shield pushback is stronger, or what time they calculate them, like the order they calculate, like who's gonna be where. But yeah, that's an issue that I talked about. I think melee is by far the best because in general, no, but like for shield pushback, if you do a dash attack on someone's shield, I think Ras has a dash attack like this, right? If you do a dash attack on someone's shield, then in melee it's like the only dash attacks that could cross up in a weird way are dash attacks like this, where they would naturally end up on somewhere, like in the middle of it. It's not ever like an attack that just stays in place. That makes it hard to cross up. I think it's because the collision boxes are just like heavily favoring attacks that, like they have strong collision push box basically. Or like, yeah, this one actually works pretty well with that. Where, see how like I'm just stopping there and then I can go way past. That is how it should be for most moves. So maybe they actually have it, but just haven't tuned it properly. I could also be overreacting a little bit, just because the fact like I didn't like notice as quickly, but this is more of a like the developers know if this is a problem, and this can actually be tuned post launch too. But obviously this is a huge issue if you baby dash, because then you're going to be sliding like crazy all the time. Reaction tech chasing is much easier in this game than melee. But it might be a little me being cracked / having a good monitor thing. Basically the tech rolls are too bad. And then for tech in place, you can do jab into F tilt, so you don't have to use grab, right? I mean, the game is running at 60 FPS. I also think text should just have a bigger visual. Like, I think it should have a bigger like effect. Like, I don't like that it's white. Does it have 120? Really? I could have been reaction tech chasing so much more. Gah. It's still just going 120 though. Oh yeah. Oh my god, it looks so smooth. What the fuck? This blew my mind. Holy shit. What the fuck? Okay, this is insane. I did not know this game had native 120. It's gonna be so fucking easy to deck chase. You probably can't see the difference, but it's so clear to me. You know, like the first time you ever play on a 144 hertz monitor and you move the mouse, it's doing that right now. Every animation looks smoother. I mean, you can tell a little bit of it through not Twitch, but not much. Yeah, I didn't know you had it either. That's really cool. I should steal Reno tech. Well, the thing is, the combos don't actually work the same in this game, though. Like, DI and Drift DI is completely different. I've watched, I think it was Darai. He's a Rivals 1 Reno, right? I watched him play, and, like, I'm not trying to flame him, but, like, it looked like none of his actual combos, like, he didn't know how to do combos because the systems are so different. Which makes sense, right? Like, the combo system is made around melee. And if you haven't played melee, it's going to be really hard to play around ASDI down. Like, this is not real because of ASDI down. That one is. Like, if you can pop them up high enough. Yeah, you can run crouch like you can to melee. Oh, Rivals players are gonna absolutely fucking hate ASDI down for a while. It really counters just hitting your opponent in any way you can, and rewards you for hitting with specific moves at specific percents. Which I think is, you know, I hate on Ultimate a lot, but I think the one thing that Ultimate has nailed that none of the other platform fighters but Melee have nailed is that you cannot hit your opponent with any move and then fucking kill them from it. In Nick All-Stars, in Rivals 1, in PM, there's kind of this sense that because CC and ASDI down is not very strong, and because every move is so good, you could kind of hit them with any move and then just like lead it into a zero to death combo. Right? No, CC is significantly weaker in PM too. Right? You're not gonna like Rast in a few months? Well, even Dan himself literally tweeted that a lot of his stuff you can floor hug. Right? Okay, this one you cannot floor hug. Nerf. But this one is like very clear designed to not be floor huggable though, because it's a multi-hit move. It's weaker in melee in PM than it is in melee. At least it used to be. It could also be that the moves just break CC super freely. Effectively, when I played PM, which I did, you know, pretty actively for a while in 3.5 and 3.02, it was way weaker. And I think people told me it was weaker when I played P+ as well. So like, yeah, this one you can... This one you can floor hug. Maybe it's ASDI down this weaker, and people confuse it and say that CC is different. I don't think they're completely different games. They're just different balance patches. I think so too. I think the basic trend that PM started is that I kind of made a tweet about this, right? I think PM players saw a Captain Falcon video where someone goes like this, right? And then they like boom, 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 bam, and then clip cuts and they die with the worst DI of all time. And they're like, that's melee. You know what? That's the essence of melee. I think everyone should be able to do that without knowing how to L cancel, you know, without like reading DI. I think every combo should just be upper, 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 knee. From every hit, in fact. Like down tilt should lead to upper knee, F tilt should lead to upper knee, side B should lead to upper knee. This is literally what they have done in PM, by the way. Okay, not maybe F tilt, but up tilt and side B and down tilt. And so they just made everything combo to the big hits, right? And then, you know, as people got better with PM, you really started to see how incredibly toxic it was when every hit led to 0 to death. And nothing is a highlight anymore because every combo is a death combo. Not every, but you know, like the frequency went up a shit ton. It took years and years and years for people to make combo videos in Melee because the game was just that hard and the average hit does not lead to that much. So when you condition someone to DIing badly, or you condition someone to taking the big hits like a stomp at a percent where it's going to lead to a death combo, that's what made Melees kind of work. It's the same thing as Street Fighter. If every combo was a jumping combo in Street Fighter, if a fireball did the same thing as a jumping combo, then the game doesn't really work. And I think that's my biggest issue with non-melee platform fighters until Rivals 2. Even Rivals 1, I think, massively has this issue where there's not enough poking. There's not enough attacks that just lead to like, oh, I just took 10%. Now I am like slightly in favor. But because he CC'd, he can spot dodge and I have to read the spot dodge. Or it just goes back to neutral. Like this kind of poking gameplay then leads up to the big combo as the percent goes up or as you condition your opponent to not just hit and hold CC, right? That's, I think, what makes the pace so special. And if you look at regular fighting games, this is actually how it usually is. You don't really start by doing a massive fucking combo from everything. Even if you do a combo from everything, regular fighting games have proration, which means that you basically take way less damage if you start from a light attack than if you start from a heavy attack. I think basically every other melee platform fighter until this one has massively failed in that area where every single attack needs to be useful to them. So a broken move is not Marth down tilt, right? Where it just hits them away. A broken move is like this move, but it pulls them in and then like leads to a charge up smash. Like that's obviously exaggerating a little bit, but there's a ton of those moves. I think even in this game, the punish game is too strong, right? There's too many attacks that like reverse DI. As we already said, hit falling is very strong. I think this move like has way too much hit stun and it's way too safe for how good of a kill setup it is. I think basically they should lower combo damage a little bit and have a few more moves that poke instead of lead to 0 to death. But overall, I think ASDI down and DI and just in general, the move design of this game is so much better than like Nickelodeon or PM ever had. Because I you know, like people say this game feels like PM, but I really don't think people remember some of the PM characters if they think this game feels like PM. This game's mechanics are probably the closest to PM, but it plays more like Melee than it did PM because PM had fucking Snake, Game & Watch, Diddy, Mewtwo. So the reason why I don't like Drifty is because for the same reason why I don't like SDI. It's basically that, one, it looks jank. SDI looks jank, even in Melee. I'm not trying to say that Melee is different. Drifty looks hella jank. And it's kind of hard to follow along as the spectator unless you're really used to it because they're like changing over and over, right? And with SDI, they just teleport. SDI is like the main defensive mechanic of certain, or of a lot more combos for P+. And then I just think it's more interesting to have some parts be decided by DI, right? So like, which way this sends is somewhat decided by DI. And then I think the rest of it could just be what percent they're at, how many jumps do they have. Once Raster jumps out here, how does he juggle down? How many jumps does he have? Once he's hit off stage, how does he juggle, right? Basically, it's more neutral focused. Even if the neutral is in someone's advantage sometimes, you still reset into this state a lot more in Melee and this game, where Raster has basically all of his options. Like maybe he's in the air, but he has a fuck ton of options. And Rando has a fuck ton of options. When you break the game down into, even if there's Drifty Eye, but let's say you do a back throw like this, and with the bad DI, you can combo from this. Maybe with Drifty Eye, you can make it trickier. Drifty Eye is still a very, very binary, like it's not binary, but relative to neutral, where both characters have options, have access to all of their options. It's a very, very simple, honestly, kind of brain dead. It's not actually brain dead, but like relative to neutral, it is much more simplified of a decision tree. Whereas when you return to neutral or advantage neutral, so like someone is on the edge, but I have more stage control. Pushing your advantage when you're in this position is so complicated, right? Like you can use the fact that you can run away more. I have more access to platforms, so I can use that. Some hits will send them off stage. The kill percents change, right? The back air starts killing at different percent, so back air starts being better, S smash starts being better. If they don't have a jump, this also changes things. Double jumping is much more risky for Raster here. Okay, maybe not Raster, but you know, Rano. All these things change in a much, much more complicated way than, oh, I could SDI this one to a way he couldn't react, so he had to read and do this thing instead. Like, those are kind of binary decisions relative to resetting back to neutral or favored, like advantage state. And this is actually what I think that Ultimate does better than most others, is that since not every attack is scary at every single point in Ultimate, you get into this more mind game of like your opponent knows what you want to hit them with. They know that because I'm on the edge here, F smash is stronger. They know that because you're at this kill percent, up tilt will kill at this percent. You have a kill confirm at this percent. When you give everything like an ability to combo, but you can SDI or Drift DI out of it, that still makes it kind of a fucked up mind game because every hit is important, like good. And so positioning becomes less important. And I think that's what makes people feel like non-melee fighters can be so mashy, right? Where if I play a game where only back air and F smash will kill, right? Then let's say Raster's on the platform. I'm going to position myself here so that I can back air. Maybe I'm going to let him land so I can F smash, right? If I play a game where every single hit I have will lead into some kind of follow-up, like this is exaggerating, but like the more moves you give that can lead to kills, then I can be anywhere on the screen. As long as I'm hitting my opponent, like up air, back air, fair, down air, needle, side B. I'm not saying this is the case in Rivals 2. I'm saying this is the case in a lot of other platform fighters. Since every single hit can lead to a big combo or much too many hits, it kind of removes the positioning and kind of just becomes who hits the other opponent first by doing the attack in the general direction where the opponent is at. So if my opponent's in front of me, I can jump and downer, I can fair, I can F tilt, I can down tilt, and I'm generally just gonna pick the option with like a really good risk reward, which is like, you know, in this case would be F tilt if F tilt actually comboed more. I think Melee has a much better design about like, you know, tilts, and I think this game has that too, where for the most part, where not every attack that has a long range leads to a good combo. A move like Marth down tilt is fucking broken in Melee, but it's a really whatever move in any other platform fighter because it doesn't lead to a combo. It just pushes them away. It just controls space. It becomes a good edge guarding tool once you're at the edge or once you're out of jumps. But in neutral, all it really is a low duration poke that leads to 10%. No, I'm not trying to say that this is a top player thing. This is very evident even at lower levels. If you play Ultimate, you get into this basic mind game, and I think that's why they designed it so harshly, where they know that F smash is going to kill. F smash is going to kill. So I'm going to read a roll with an F smash. Of course you do this in Rivals and PM and stuff like that, but not nearly as much, right? You're not really fishing for your kill moves very hard in those games. You're kind of doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, because since a lot of moves confirm into F smash, you don't really have to make these hard reads and kind of change how you move and how you set up your offense, right? And obviously low-level players, really low-level players don't really think about that. They just hit the big button. But I'm saying like even mid-level players start getting to this thing where like it just feels mashy because you're not really looking out for a specific thing. You just not like, it's more I don't want my opponent to hit me, not I don't want to get hit by this or this or this big combo starter, right? And I think that's what makes this game better, that because of CC, because of ASDI down, and because of some of the move design, they managed to make it feel more like that. I still think they should nerf the combo starting ability of some moves, and maybe some of the aerials. But I think they got a lot closer than any other platform fighter I played. And I think you can absolutely feel it. Whether you, like, there's so many people here that have been like, I don't know what it is, but this is the first game that makes me feel like Melee. It gives me this, like, one more. And I absolutely think it's because Melee, intentionally or not, is like masterclass in, like, pacing, right? Like, both when it comes to a combo, right? Like, this combo is a cool pacing, but, like, Stomp Knee in Melee is a perfect example of good pacing in a combo where you do the stomp and then wait, F smash, right? Or knee. And I think this game has some of those combos too, where because it's a stomp, you have like more time to like up the like tempo, or you can change up the tempo, not up the tempo. And same thing for neutral. When you're at high percent in Melee, I feel like it's a much more tangible effect. And this is, again, something Ultimate also does well. When you're high percent in Ultimate, it is also very, like, you feel like you're at high percent. Every hit sends you flying. The kill move starts killing. I think the problem with games like previous products, M and Rivals and Nickelodeon and Multiverses, is that the percent feels kind of arbitrary almost. Where, like, yes, it changes what options you have, but since you have good advantage state at any percent, since CC is not a thing, it doesn't really feel like okay, we start at low percent, these options are good at low percent, and then we get a high percent, and now the options that are good suddenly change. You don't really have that pacing in a stock in a lot of platform fighters, that since you can get a full combo of fair, I'm not saying you can do this in this game, I'm saying in most other games, since you use the same moves at all percents, it's just that the follow-up changes from this into, like, fair, and then you know, you get another combo, I think the pacing is ruined, and it like is not nearly as satisfying and like as dopamine giving when you win like clutch out a good stock. We had a couple situations like this today where me and Pips were both at high percents and we're both like frantically trying to survive, trying to recover. Someone let you get in again. It's like, oh shit, he got in again. Oh shit, I'm gonna hit my kill move. Like, I really think that shields and CC and all these mechanics like DI and ledge hogging really just help transform the pacing into the match, or like insert some pacing into the match. I still think there needs to be some better hit lag, some better effects when you hit a strong attack. Yeah, that's something both me and Pipsqueak talked about. It's like you kind of just fly away, and there's no like, oh. In melee, there's a screen shake. There's a crowd that goes whoa, and then every attack is like toya, whoo. Like Marth, like ha. Like there's a Marth hits a downer. It's like doom. I really think that is the last missing piece. That like the only one that there's only a couple attacks right now that really have that oomph feeling for kill moves. Rapster has some of the good ones, like these ones are classic, right? I still wish they had a bit more visual flair. Like, I think this is actually kind of like this freeze frame is cool, but I kind of wish there was more like effects or whatever. I think this one is like, I think Rando's up smash visually is like so cool. Like has a cross and everything. Same thing for this one. But I think what and this one's good too. Like, but I said this yesterday. This sound effect is just really weak. So when you don't get the strong kill effect, it just feels broken because it doesn't have like quite enough hit lag. This is still one of the better attacks, I would say, though, just because of the visual effect. But it would be so much better if it's a Toya and then Raptor goes, whoa! You know, like that really adds more character and really sells the hit, you know? This currently is kind of like a wrestling match where only the person doing the wrestling attacks makes any sounds or any, you know, acts, right? You don't need to have the exact examples, right? But like having characters get hit by F smashes and there's no crowd sound, there's no screen shake, and they don't do anything until they die. Like they don't make a sound when they actually get hit, they only make a sound when they die. Really has that effect of like not selling the hit as well as possible. And I think that's why we both notice it. Yeah, it's absolutely worse than Grenade Up Smash. In terms of like sound effect and voice line. Now, some of these things are really hard to do because a lot of these things are budget. But I really think like high percent attacks feeling like they're high percent knockback attack. I think that would be a massive change. Someone asked me, have I talked to Dan about this? I've talked about him some. He hasn't like DM'd me or anything, but we talked a little bit. I know he agrees with me on a bunch of things, but obviously I don't know how much. So then said, pay me for consultation. It's kind of funny because I talked a lot with the Project L team. And I'm still doing it. Like they're not, I guess they kind of are paying me for consultation, but they're mostly through flights. I think there's a day rate, but like it's pretty small. Or there was a day rate. I think because I've played so many fighting games and because I'm generally a lab rat, like I break down mechanics, I'm pretty good at like telling developers what they want to hear. I've had really amazing players who can come to the right conclusion, but they have a hard time selling it because they can't explain themselves. I'm too abrasive. That's my problem, though. But like Sonic Fox will say something like in Project L, it's like, yeah, you absolutely need some kind of, you know, like max combo scaling, or you need some kind of fuck, what's it called in Skullgirls where you like, where you flip out after you do too many combos in a row. Like, you absolutely need that. Every team game needs that. And like, I agree 100% with them, but a developer needs to hear it and like, yeah, so the reason why you want this is because otherwise you do the same combo over and over. One of the worst feeling things as a fighting game player is when someone repeats a combo, right? Infinite protection, yeah, basically. One of the worst feeling things for any player, even a good player, but especially a new player, is if someone hits you and they do the same combo 4 times in a row. That will always kill a new player's enjoyment. Always. It feels like shit. It's not like you... The combo is what you have to look at, right? And if you don't have infinite prevention systems or scaling combos, it's very hard to like... it's very, very hard to encourage you to not just do the same combo 4 times in a row. Yeah, Undizzy. Undizzy is another one of them. I think Undizzy is actually the thing I was talking about. And so I've been talking a decent amount with people on the Prytel team. We're going to be watching the VODs tomorrow. I have 6 hours. And I'm basically going to... Because they told me, like, we really want your feedback. I'm the person in the world that outside of the development team has played Prytel the most. And Super Nintendo is up there as well. So I have like 6 hours of footage tomorrow. And I'm basically going to look at it. I'm going to tell you guys what questions you want answered. But then part of the thing is that I'm going to look at all these 5 hours and then I'm going to make notes. I've already told some of the notes of like suggestions, things that I felt were too good, things that I felt bad. And like, this might just be because of how I'm aligned as a player, but I actually think that a lot of people, not most, but a lot of really good gamers that are pros, the main thing they care about is balance or things being broken or not. I actually think that the biggest problem is that when pros tell them this is too broken, this needs to be nerfed, this character needs to be nerfed, well, they don't realize, which is understandable, but is that there always has to be a top tier. And so you can't just nerf the current top tiers. All that's going to do is create another top tier that they know even less about how to design well. Since, you know, they're going to be new. And so I think one thing that I've talked a lot about, which I think I know the developers of like every game that I've talked to, any fighting game developer, or even just any balancing fighting competitive game, is that game feel, how it feels, is actually far more important after a certain point than how broken something is. If something feels like shit to get hit by or to deal with, that is actually worse often than it actually being super broken, right? Because and then the obviously worst part is that when the worst thing to deal with is also the best thing. When camping being good in Ultimate in some matchups feels like dog shit. Because it's like, you know, it's just a really awful experience to deal with optimal strategy that is really degenerate. Yeah, wobbling, exactly. Wobbling is not even, you know, it is broken, okay? But at a lot of levels, it's not like Ices were the best characters. But it was more that it just feels fucking terrible to deal with. And I think, for example, I think one of the reasons why I came to this conclusion so hard is that Melee is not a particularly super Omega balanced game, but it's one of the longest living competitive games of all time. Because the top tiers, although they are broken and better than mid tiers, they don't feel awful to deal with. They're actually very, very satisfying to deal with. And this is why every fucking player loves fighting Fox. Even though Fox is arguably the best character and the most common character. You know, how many fucking games can you say that? Yeah, you know what? I love fighting Steve. I love fighting Bayonetta. Whatever top tier, I love fighting JP in Street Fighter 6. Like, that is so fucking rare. That people like fighting. They want to fight a top tier that is the most common one. I think Jigglypuff is the biggest failure of that. Yeah. I don't think Melee is perfect by any means. I think a lot of people hate playing as Jigglypuff in a lot of matchups. Like Jigglypuffers think playing against other floaties is awful. Even Jigglypuff players hate playing the mirror, right? I think different playstyles is fine, but when people hate the mirror, that's always a really bad sign, right? But yeah, this was just my rant about game design. I remember, I think it was Clockwork, who's like the battle designer, and we just had a long talk about like Project and what I thought. And he asked me like, have you ever thought about doing game design? I'm like, I thought about it. I think it's really interesting. It's such an interesting thing, and I'm a fucking backseater. Like, none of the things I can say the easy thing, but the hardest thing for a game designer will always be how to make it fun for casuals, because that is 95% of the player base. How fun it is for me is easy for me to say, relatively, because this is a pro player talking about pro player problems. The absolute hardest thing to design is about things that you don't fundamentally understand as well, which is the perspective of someone who has never played your game from someone who designs it or someone who plays it for a living. For me to say, I mean, I know a decent bit about it because I've thought about it a lot, but it's really hard for me to be like, yeah, or especially if you haven't thought about it, but because I thought about it, it's not as bad. But I think it's really hard for a lot of people to understand, for example, what makes a melee match interesting versus maybe a PM match, like the difference in pacing and stuff like that. It's because it takes a shit ton of effort to see it from a beginner's or someone else's view versus your own. Seeing your own view is very easy. And being like, at my level, this character is broken. Nerf this character. Yeah, I don't think I would be a good developer in the sense that I would be like, this is what a game should be about. I think I'm a much better critiquer or consultation person than that. And that is because it's not like I don't think I could become a good game developer, but ultimately I like playing games and breaking them and, you know, critiquing them more, and that's what I've done more because I've played fighting games, right? More than I've developed games. It's a very different thing to be a food critic and to be a chef, you know? And I'm more of a food critic. Yeah, it's something that the Project L developers talked about a lot, which I'm really happy about. And I think the Rivals crews too, is that you can make games now that are more suited to diehards than you could before. When you make a game that's supposed to sell for $60 and give everyone that buys the game a good experience, you have to make it in a very different way than you make a live service game. But yeah, like the good thing about live service games like Project L, you know, Teamfight Tactics that are free to play is that what you're looking for is not people that touch your game once, play the story mode, do the special moves, and be like, wow, that was really cool. I really got my money's worth from this one. What you're looking for is people that like live and breathe your game, that play your game or watch your game a little bit all the time. They don't have to be their only game, but you know, it's a game that when a new skin comes out, a new character comes out, they're like, oh, I'll try that one, right? And I think that is a really good mix for fighting games. And like, because of streaming and social media too, and esports, it becomes a lot easier to sell a game that is good for the diehards and not, and like, it might take a little bit to get into, right? But it's not like meant to be something you spend $60 on and then five hours on max for 95% of the people. Because designing those games is very different than designing games that are meant to be played forever. To be like a hobby, right?